Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and today I am going to be sharing my TBR for the Big Book Summer Challenge. The Big Book Summer Challenge is hosted by Sue at Sue Jackson, so that's her booktube channel, and I will link her announcement video below so you can go and check out all the details for this reading challenge. But as soon as I heard about it, I knew I had to join because, well, if you've been around a while, you know I like big books. So I figured I'm reading the big books anyway. I might as well say I'm participating in a challenge. These four books are ones that I know I am setting aside to move with me, so I'll go through them. I'm sure when I finally do a summer wrap up and a wrap up for this challenge, I will have probably read more than just these four big books, but we'll wait and see how that goes at the end of summer. The brief version of this challenge is that you just need to read one book that is over 400 pages long. So let me discuss the books that for sure will be on my TBR for that. And the reason I decided to do four books is because this event runs from June 1st, I believe, until Labor Day in September. And so it's basically one book a month, plus one of the books I'm going to mention I'm actually going to be reading over the course of all 3 months and won't even be finished by the end of that time. For the month of June, I will be reading the second book in the Cairo trilogy, which is Palace of Desire. This is already on my June TBR, and so it just goes along with I knew I was already reading books over 400 pages, and this is one of the ones that's over 400 pages that I really am trying to make a concerted effort to get to this month in June. In fact, if things go well, I will get to this before I move, and it won't even be coming with me because the bind up of these three books is humongous. The second book in here, Palace of Desire, is just about 450 pages long, so definitely fits as a big book. Palace of Desire follows three generations of one family during the 1920s in Egypt as the country is experiencing its own turmoil and as you head into the Great World Wars. And this is a book that really looks very closely at what this family's life is like. The father is very tyrannical and extremely unlikable, and is intended to be, which took me a while to realize in the first book. But every other character in this book, for the most part, is just someone that you just grow to love. You end up really caring about this family. And so I read the first book last summer, so I decided let's go ahead and read the second book this summer. And I'm looking forward to getting back into it before I start to forget what happened. Right now, I recall most of the important points, and I'm really anxious to see what is continuing to happen in this family and in their lives. The second book definitely counts as a big book, and that is And Ladies of the Club by Helen Hoovensantmyer. I didn't realize her last name was that long. Anyway, would be a reread for me, and this is definitely a big book. This mass market paper edition, I think, is 1,429 pages long. This is going to be my July read. This may be the only book I read in July. I don't know how that's going to work. Anyway, this is actually intentional on my part. I really, when I move, do not want to bring a lot of books with me. And so I decided what better way to handle this than to bring a at least short but really long book. So I have something to read all the time. This will fit into my purse, kind of, sort of. I don't know. I'm questioning this choice now. But anyway, this will be my big book for July and however long after that it takes to read. And I recall this being like a really engaging and well-told story that did not feel like it was 1,400 pages long. I definitely don't recall it being that long. I remember it being a long book, but really enjoying this book. And I had owned this either towards the end of this year or the beginning of this year and actually unhauled the copy I had, which I had gotten for free somewhere. And because I didn't think I was going to get back to it, and I didn't really remember much about the book, and it was just taking up space. It was also a hardcover edition, which I realized at that time there's no way I'm reading a really long book in a hardcover edition. It just hurts my hands. But somebody reminded me that the plot of this book is kind of like Middlemarch, but if told in America with all the cultural changes and this and that would come. And as soon as they said that, I was like, I do remember that being true of the book. And since I'm not a huge fan of George Eliot's writing, but I do like the story of Middlemarch, I was like, oh, maybe this will be sort of my fun summer read alternative. I do remember it being a lighthearted, very like just fluffy, fun read, even though it's ridiculously long. So I'm looking forward to getting to that in July. In August, I hope I will be reading Drood by Dan Simmons. I felt like this would be good for end of summer because hopefully the weather will be changing and getting cooler. We will see. Seriously doubtful. But anyway, I have really just been wanting to get to this book anyway, and I want to get to it before the end of the year, which means I can't pack it and never see it again until I get my books back. So I figured, hey, it's over 400 pages, and it's one of the books that is also really large on my shelf that I'm willing to take with me. In fact, this book is, oh, that's a different book at the end of the book. This book is 771 pages, so again, well over the big book mark. But it's a book that I'm hoping if I hold off to reading this until August, that I will have finally have the time to read The Mysteries of Edwin Drood, and we'll finally get to the last book that is part of that project. So I'm excited about this, and I'm really hoping it works out. And the final book on this list, and I mentioned earlier that this is a book that's just sort of an ongoing read, is a book that I plan on reading over the course of all 3 months. I've already started it, and I will still be reading it by the end of this challenge, and that is The Mysteries of Paris by Eugene Sue. This book is something like 1,342 pages long or something like that. So, again, well past the mark for a big book, but it's a buddy read that I'm doing with Stormy at Storm Reads. In the month of June, July, and August, we will be reading books 4, 5, and 6, respectively, and I'm looking forward to getting to them. This has been a really easy read, surprisingly. The translation is very clear and straightforward, so even though it's a classic, that is not a language is not a difficulty with this book, and I'm looking forward to making some more progress in it. I feel like it's actually going pretty fast. And the way we're reading it is we're basically doing one chapter a day. This entire book was serialized, so the chapters are very short. They're just like maybe 5 pages a day or something like that. And then there's usually each month a book is made up of maybe 20, and in addition to having short chapters, each of the books that are in here, I think there's 11 books total, are only about like 20 chapters long. So reading one chapter a day, if we read every day, usually gets us done by the 20th of the month. And then we have about 10 or 12 days of wiggle room, depending on when we finish, to, catch up if we need to, or just focus on other reading. So this will be coming with me so that I can stay on top of my buddy read. And even though it won't be finished, I will be counting it as part of the big book challenge. So here is my reading stack for the big book challenge, the big mammoth summer challenge. But we're just not going to think about that too long, and we're just going to go with it. All these books are over 400 pages. Let me know if you are planning on participating in this challenge, what you plan on reading, if you've read any of these books. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.